Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Thank you so much for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very much. We're also very glad for all the people, the educators who have done what they could for a very difficult time, a very difficult year. And here we have two of them. So welcome to the program, Glenn Haydel, retiring principal. Glenn, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, we appreciate it. Sitting next to him, the new principal coming in, Rebecca Hebert. Rebecca, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
All right. And so, guys, let's talk a little bit about how we came out of COVID and we went right into Ida. So, Glenn, tell us just a little bit about what the perspective was at school when we kind of got that news right at the beginning of school.
Well, at the very beginning, we thought we were going back to what we would call a normal school year, and then kind of had a little pandemic splurge that caused us to make some changes to our schedule.
Right.
Again, some kids chose the virtual route where they stayed home. Some kids chose the in-person learning. I think the biggest barricade that we had or hurdle across was the fact that the mask would have to be worn back in school again. And again, a lot of people thought they threw away their masks the year before. But again, that probably was one of the biggest challenges that we had for the kids to come on campus to wear their masks. And again, like anything else, kids will adapt to the change as easy as possible. The adults in the building sometimes have more of a challenge than the kids do in making these adaptations. But so we get that going, and school begins, and then all of a sudden Ida hits, and of course no one was really ready for that. Again, that made major changes for us. Again, it even brought a new type of learning where we had some kids who were displaced. We had kids displaced anywhere from around our state to Texas. We have one student, she had to be displaced to Honduras. So again, trying to have someone learn from Honduras was a challenge in itself.
Wow. Yeah, because sometimes that's what families have to do, right? They have to
Yes.
kind of find a way to do that. Rebecca, how about yourself for that beginning of the year?
Beginning of the year, definitely the same. I think everybody was looking forward to coming back and having our extracurricular activities and, like he said, a normal school year. And Ida hit, and so that all changed. We were fortunate enough that we had minimal damage
Right.
and able to do a lot of our extracurricular sports. But again, just the challenges that it presented.
Right. And then Ida and all the changes with people having to do scheduling and who can host, who can't, and those kinds of things. Let's move forward to the spring, because the spring this year, probably better than ever, was a little bit more about hope and renewal and those kinds of things. So Rebecca, tell us a little bit about how we kind of had some challenges or what some of the things that you kind of saw and expected with the spring.
The spring was actually very good for us. We were able to do a lot of the normal things.
Right.
Like I said, we had minimal damage from the hurricane, and by then COVID had pretty much laxed.
Right. Settled down some.
Yeah, we were able to host all of our meets for track and have our baseball. And it started off that we had to have practices away from campus, but then we were able to host all of our games at home.
Wow.
So that was phenomenal for us and the kids. I think the kids were excited about being able to do everything at home.
And for the kids, especially the seniors, them being able to have a little bit more normalcy had to have been really good. Let's talk about leading up to and graduation, Glenn.
Well, as the year went by, again, a lot more normal things began to take place, like Ms. Hebert said. The idea of getting rid of the mask, when they got rid of that, became a huge, huge hurdle that we have crossed. The crazy thing from our side is that we finally got to see what the kids actually look like. I mean, for the longest, all you saw was eyes in a classroom. You could never get any expressions of if the retention had happened in the learning phase. But then again, just to see the kids' faces and see the kids smiling, they increased as we went once the masks were gone. Then we move into the idea of LEAP testing. Of course, that was one of our next things to accomplish and get behind us. And again, at that point, once all the LEAP tests were finished, and I think that's when actually the excitement of the end of the school year actually began, because that was one of the things that even you had an abbreviated type school year with different types of learning, the end goal was the kids having to pass to the LEAP 2025. So again,
Sure.
At that point, I think that was another relief on not only the kids' part, but also the teachers' part.
Yeah. And that leads up to a great recommendation and discussion about how well the kids did, especially the seniors, academically and then moving into graduation. Let's talk a little bit about graduation as we close out here.
Well, graduation, of course, that was an exciting moment for everyone. Of course, we went back to the Civic Center here in Thibodaux again to have our ceremony. The idea of how the kids did well academically. Again, like I said earlier, that the kids make the changes a lot quicker than the adults do.
Sure.
Again, I don't personally feel like, let's say from the standpoint of the kids learning, I do think they learn. Do I think that we learn to maximum potential? I think that the different variations of schedule hindered some of that.
Right.
But I do think that the ultimate goal is to show your proficiency on the exams, which all of our kids showed that.
Wow, very good. Some final thoughts from you about the kids in graduation.
I just think it was an exciting time. Like, just they were resilient the whole year. They have been through a lot the last 3 years.
Sure.
So for them to cross that stage was an exciting time.
Yeah, very nice. So congratulations again, Mr. Glenn, on your retirement. In the years that you've spent educating and taking care of our kids and being that staple there. Are you looking forward to that?
Yes, sir. A little scary, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Like I tell people, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
I just know that I'm not going to set my alarm clock.
I know that's right. Very good. Wake up when you want. And so, Miss Rebecca, congratulations to you. We wish wonderful things from you. Look forward to having you back on. And great things from Thibodaux High School, as we have always expected, right?
Yes,
Very
looking
good.
forward to it.
Thank y'all for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
All right. And that will do it for us here on this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more Bayou Time when we continue.